All right, it is 8:35 a.m. and it's Tuesday, October 11. You're at the Legislative and Human Resources Committee. Hopefully you're in the right spot. Our first item on the agenda today is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment? All right, seeing none. Our next item is approval of the minutes. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Commissioner Burrow, support by Commissioner Teal. All right, questions or comments, changes to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Item number 3 on the agenda comes from the Parks Department, and we have a performance measurement review. We have Dan DeLoof, the Parks Superintendent, here with us today. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
Having me. I think you all know me, but my name is Dan DeLoof. So I'll run through these slide by slide here, if I can figure this out. So just a little bit about the Parks Department. We're 25 full-time parks professionals. We manage over 43 parks and green spaces, over 7,400 acres, 100 miles of paved trail, and we average over 2,000 reservations per season. And then we hire anywhere from 150 to 200 seasonal employees per year as well. So I'll follow the presentation that we use for the standard presentation. And so we feel that our strategic alignment with the board is the high quality of life. We know that our parks and green spaces are key essentials for communities that offer a high quality of life. And in 2001, the Board of Commissioners adopted the goal of protecting 7,500 acres of parkland by 2025. So we're getting very close to that number. So I'll go over 3 of our goals that we have. The first goal is to acquire parklands, green spaces, and trail corridors to address the current and the future needs of the community. For goal 1 in 2021, we added close to 250 additional acres. 125 of those were at Chief Hazy Cloud, and 122.6 were added at Lowell Regional Green Space, which brought the Lowell Regional Green Space total up to 525, and the Hazy Cloud total up to 394, with 1.5 miles of river frontage. Goal 2 is to develop enhanced park and trail facilities to improve the diversity and quality of recreational opportunities. The key highlights here, where we officially opened Dwight Liddell Park, that we spent roughly invested $2.5 million in to improve the stream bank quality, new playgrounds, community spaces, a boardwalk connecting neighborhoods, and paved trails. We also added several additional miles of trail at Wallfield Park for mountain biking and hiking. Repaved several thousand feet of our paved trails network, M6, Thornapple, Paul Henry, Pioneer, and some at Millennium as well. Swings are still a big thing in the Parks Department, so we have worked hard to just add swings at various locations for people to use. That's still probably the number one playground piece of equipment that people want. And then we've also been working in our restrooms as far as adding additional LED lighting, trying to reduce some energy costs there, and then making them brighter and so people feel safer inside of those. Goal 3 is to protect the quality and sustainability of the Kent County Park System by continuing to increase and diversify funding sources. And the way we've been doing this really is to try to utilize outside grants, state DNR trust fund grants, development grants, any federal programs that we can attach ourselves to for like fisheries and wildlife, let's say. We've also partnered with many of the townships for acquisitions, working with them to help us with the local match. Private foundations we've worked with. Comstock Park DDA was a big supporter of the project in Dwight Liddell Park. So we continue to work with them. And then the Kent County Parks Foundation is another source of some funding that we can tap into. And a good example of this is for 2021, the 250 acres we acquired, the purchase price was over $4 million, and the county's percent of that was roughly 6.6%. So we're getting some very good value on the dollar when we partner. And then I'll also add that we have a very robust volunteer services program. And so when we can utilize them to help with invasive species removal, trash removal, cleaning up trail edges, pruning back some trails, that saves our department money as well. So in 2021, we had over 8,000 volunteer hours in our parks. And hopefully next year, our volunteer coordinator will become a full-time employee. She's currently part-time, but it's in the budget to make her full-time, so. So one of our key performance metrics is to earn at least 40% of our general operations through other sources than the county general fund. You can see we're very close to that goal. We have basically 4 main sources of this revenue. Our golf course in 2021, again, brought in like around 1.3 million. Millennium Park, roughly $500,000. Our campground does about 400,000 a year. And then all of our enclosed shelters at various parks brought in about 215,000. So obviously, we're a very weather-dependent entity for revenue. So we really have about 10 weeks at Millennium to make revenue, make our number. And one rainy weekend can really put a damper on that. So that's why we have a goal of 40%, and that's why sometimes we don't quite make it. Same with the golf course. It's very weather dependent. So the campground, not so much. People are pretty hardy. If they go camping though, and they have a reservation, they will typically show up. So, and then I'll also add that, our enclosed shelters, our cabins at Wabasis are typically booked a year in advance. That's how busy we are. So we're pretty proud of that. Our 2021 significant accomplishments, like I mentioned earlier, we added acreage at Chief Hazy Cloud and Low Regional. Another thing we're proud of is we hired several retirees back and put them on a part-time trail crew. So as you all know, it's hard to find employees right now. We had a couple guys that wanted to come back, just work 15 hours a week, between 10 and 2, so they could sleep in a little bit. But we put them on a crew, and they're basically just cutting back real heavy-duty woody growth that are growing through fences and things like that along our pay trails. So I think Emily may have seen some pictures of some of their work, and so we're fine-tuning that, obviously. But it needs to be done. It's not pretty work, but it needs to be done. So then we also, like I said, opened Dwight Liddell Park. We've added some storm shelters at Kaufman Golf Course, so if people get stuck out in the rain or if there's lightning, they're able to seek shelter quickly. We finally completed the clubhouse updates, new metal roof, all new siding, and a new front porch. We acquired the Gateway property at Millennium, which is the corner of Butterworth and Maynard. And then we installed parking lot lights in the Secchia Meadows, mainly for use, obviously, spring and fall when it's dark earlier. It gets very dark at Millennium. So just a couple of pictures to show of the top ones are Liddell, and then the bottom two are one of the storm shelters. They do have concrete underneath them now, so the storm shelters do. And then the new exterior of the golf course clubhouse. Look ahead. 5-year master plan will be coming up next year, end of this year, early next year, so we'll start with that. We hope to have a full-time volunteer coordinator next year, starting next year. 3 new rental cabins at Wabasis we're working on. We're also working on enhancing the beach access at Wabasis. It's currently, just due to topography, it's difficult for families and to access the beach with all their gear that they bring down there. Land acquisitions at Townsend Park and potentially Silver Lake Country Club. And then extensive development and design work on the Grand River Greenway project that Al's been championing. So, and that's all I have for you. So.
All right, thanks, Dan. Thanks for the updates. Are there any questions at all? Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you, Chair Breeby. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Just a couple questions. So in our park systems, I guess I look at a regional or destination park with a certain size. How many parks do we have in our system, say, that may be under 50 acres or under 30 acres in size?
It's probably there's only a handful that small. We have several that are in the 80 to 100. And there's a few the ones that are that small, that were just parcels that were gifted to the Parks Department, 50, 60, 70 years ago. And some of those, they're on our books, but it's just a space that we don't utilize currently. So.
Are those, has it ever been explored with the townships or municipalities where those parks are at, that potentially, I know sometimes there's strings tied to those giftings,
Correct.
But is there possibilities of working on an agreement with that municipality to take over those type of parks?
Absolutely. And we, a good example is Paris Park, which is in Kentwood. We own the property and the city of Kentwood operates it for us. So we're always exploring that option. Proven Trails Park, it's owned by the city. It's 3 mile on the Beltline. and we operate that for them, just because it's out of the way for them. So, so yeah, we're always looking to partner that, if, you know, a lot of times those townships would prefer we manage them, versus the other way around. So, but, you know, there's financially probably ways that we could entice them to do that.
Okay, all right, thank you, appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, any other questions for Dan? Commissioner Coleman?
Chair, these 10 to 2 jobs sound pretty good. But, so I know
We're hiring.
every park that I go to regularly has the signs up, you know, looking for seasonal staff, and, you know, so I know it's been a real challenge, you know, pulling some people out of retirement for those,
Yep.
you know, that's great. Is there something that we need to be thinking about for the future to, like, solve this problem? Like, is it a wage level issue? Is it just the seasonal nature of some of these jobs?
Probably teach your kids to want to work. So it's, yeah, I mean, if we knew the answer, we would solve the problem, right? But it's, I guess what we've been noticing is kids don't want to work nights and weekends. That's a big problem. And then who wants to clean a toilet, right? And people are inherently messy and gross. So, and then, you know, we've been working hard with HR to figure out ways to recruit. And then we did a wage study last year. I'm sure we'll do another one this year again. So I don't know if you offered $20 an hour, if we'd still get enough employees, so. But we try to promote the fact that it's a fun environment, you get to work outside, which is enticing. We've been partnering with Grand Valley a lot as well, their natural resource management program. So our park managers have gone into the classroom and really promoted what we do. And then we've also given those students an opportunity to work on some type of invasive species program or project, reclamation project, things like that. So just to try to entice people to come in and work for us. So, yep.
Commissioner Hennessy?
Thank you. Thank you for the improvements we're seeing at the parks and on the trails. You mentioned you're going to begin the master planning process again next year.
Correct.
Do you know yet how you're going to begin to approach that and how you will incorporate other ideas or, you know, ideas period into that?
Yeah, so we'll work with Al. He's got some, you know, he's got a mind full of ideas that he wants to incorporate. But yes, we're definitely planning to draw in the public for that, and we'll have several work sessions with the board as well, to you know, draw out those ideas. So,
If I could just say, it is a big effort, and you usually do some surveying too, correct? So-
absolutely, there'll be
Every
online
5 years.
surveys.
Every 5 years, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Ponstein?
Thank you. So Dan, you had mentioned no one wants to clean bathrooms. Is there anyone looking at maybe just privatizing that to a company that specializes in cleaning proper equipment properly?
We have looked at that with, I believe it was Cintas who can come in and do that. They kind of they actually bring like a robot in and it sprays everything down and does it. Our problem with that is, you know, if you have a reservation that's there for a morning picnic and all of a sudden a toilet's plugged or, you know, they make a mess of the place, or there's soccer in the morning and then there's a wedding in the afternoon. It's really just, it's a challenge to have a private contractor like that be on call. So for a routine, clean it every morning or clean it every night, it works. But, yeah, I mean, we're always, you know, working with facilities, trying to figure out what they're doing different and how they're utilizing cleaning crews. So it's always an option that we're investigating.
So when someone rents a facility, if they leave it a mess, is there any ramifications of that? Or is it not a courtesy to keep something cleaner than when you got it?
Well, even if you rent a facility, the restrooms themselves are still public, so it's very difficult to, you know, on a Saturday, there might be 6 events utilizing the same restroom, so it'd be hard to put that back on any particular group. If we do know it's one group that's done it, then we have sent them a bill for additional cleaning services. Yep,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for Dan? I have one. You said the goal of 7,500 acres by 2025. How close are we to that right now?
I think our latest count is 7,419,
Okay,
so we're getting very close.
so are we gonna be able to accomplish that with the projects that we kind of have in the pipeline?
Correct.
Awesome.
Yep.
Very nice. One thing that I enjoyed last year was the commissioner bus tour of the parks. You know, it was eye-opening to see how expansive they were and the area that they cover. Just one thought, you know, as you're doing the master planning, maybe consider doing something like that again.
Okay.
Another interesting idea would be how many of the parks are connected, and possibly consider like a bike tour or something like that for those that are interested. So we can, you know, see from north to south and east to west how we could get from park to park.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Dan? All right, thanks for your time so much today.
Thank you.
All right, our next item on the agenda comes from facilities, and it's another performance measurement review, and we have Al Jano, our facilities management director, here today. Thanks for joining us, Al. Sure you have a lot of ground to cover there.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me this morning to represent facilities. And I appreciate working with Dan and his team, and our whole facilities team appreciates working with Dan and his team. And when you think about 7,419 acres and a staff of 30, and yeah, those volunteer hours would add up to about 4 more full-time people in total. But even that, you're managing the projects for those people and stuff. I think our Parks Department does tremendous in every way, shape, and form. I know they help our Facilities Department, which in turn helps virtually every department in the county. And I just thank you very much, Dan, and your team, as I always do, for working with us and moving the county forward in a good direction for everyone. Thank you for the opportunity this morning for me to represent our 29 facilities management professionals within our department that support, that are supported by all administrative services, of course, HR, human resources, information technology, fiscal services. They keep us going. For reference, our staff of 29, and I'm not complaining, but I know it's been asked before about, so I just want to cover that. Our staff of 29 is now 4 less than what we had during the Great Recession, and we manage a lot more square feet, a lot more larger buildings. A blessing on that is technology. It helps us a lot. Our automated HVAC system helps us a lot. Our building controls, our card access system, our camera systems, all those things help us. We have eyes where we don't have to be somewhere all the time. We can look and see what snow conditions are like for shoveling sidewalks. And by the way, most of our county properties are, the parking lots are plowed by our wonderful Parks Department team. We do have a few contracted areas because they can't get everywhere. So we're down about 4. Again, we have a larger animal shelter, a larger human services, substantially, a new 63rd District Court building, our juvenile detention and juvenile services center. All those have been added, and we're still about 4 less. Again, I'm not complaining, just making mention of it. This is a sampling of about our almost 1.5 million square feet that your administrative facilities management team is responsible for. This slide shows your health department at the Fuller campus, veteran services also at Fuller, our one of our crown jewels, the 180 Ottawa Courthouse here downtown, your wonderful animal shelter, Dan's new parks offices, a shot of a rendering in the bottom left corner of the North County campus, which is the future home of the Sheriff's North Substation and the North Health Clinic. This is a early conceptual design of the North County campus site. It's up, again, this is up Cedar Springs, exit 104, just off 131. We're about a half mile to the east on the north side of the road. In 2005, you or your predecessors had us buy about 14 acres of very, very nice real estate. The folks that sold it to us were relatively philanthropic, and they wanted to see that property that had been a family farm for a very long time to serve the community, and that's what this project will be doing. This is site work at the North County campus. The site work commenced in September. As you recall, I think I shared with you before that we took about a 100-day pause over the winter, which is something new to us, and that's due to supply chain challenges. We took that pause during the winter months so we could take advantage of good weather when we had all the materials to continue with our project. That turned out to be a really good move because since spring started, after that 100-day pause, we've been nonstop. And I'll share some more about what it looks like now. You have a substantial building. I think this was taken about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Come on. Here we go. This is only about 72 seconds, and this is a flyover that's done by our Central Services Department showing you the building. And again, there's almost 2 weeks worth of work further on this than what you see now. This building is scheduled for completion in May of next year, 30,000 square feet. And again, that houses the Sheriff's North Substation and our health clinic. I hope you don't get all dizzy watching this, but again, it's only about 72 seconds. Carports for vehicles from Environmental Health and the Sheriff's Department. And that 17-mile road that you see over there. Thank you for bearing with me on that. This presentation, similar to Dan's and similar to all the others, we're asked to follow a presentation overview that you're familiar with for continuity. Following your strategic alignment, the 2019 direction for 5 priorities. We stress a lot on with those 5 priorities. Sorry. We follow a lot on the excellence in service delivery, but we also pride ourselves in being transparent and clear in communications of decisions that we, or recommendations that we bring to you. And our Kent County strategic plan priorities are, sorry, the major initiatives that our projects seek to fill. Couple goals we'll talk about. Much of what I'm sharing this morning is our major construction projects because they're exciting and a lot of glitz and such like that. Our operations when you're having almost 1,000,005 square feet, our operations, I'm not saying we run 24/7, but our team is always busy. We stagger shifts. It's a lot to do, and I'm so pleased to work with a group that has a very similar mentality to my mentality of we enjoy serving others, we enjoy helping others. You've received separately our up-to-date performance measures, and of course, I'm prepared to discuss those this morning too, as we move through this. As I shared, we'll discuss some major project work, specifically the new parks office, the development of the North County campus, and a new fleet services project, which you see on all of these. The top left corner is getting in preparation for placement of fleet services just at the north end of the Sheriff's Department off of Ball, south of Bradford. And that was removing a radio tower, 200-foot tower. We took that down last year in preparation of work this year. Parks offices, and just a still shot of the video I just shared with you. All of our work, both operations and construction, safety is always the highest priority. We get a lot of thanks from our contractors. We treat our contractors with courtesy and respect. We don't ask them to do anything that our team wouldn't do. We do get a lot of thanks from our contractors. I think that helps with our pricing and contractor availability. We continue to have an excellent safety record, as expected, and with thanks to many. Our 21 and 22 significant accomplishments, doing this so late in the year, some projects are still in the works, so to speak. Our courthouse centrifugal chiller upgrade, that's been all spec'd out and ordered, and we're looking for delivery of that in early April, in time for the cooling season. Upgrade of our court recording systems, we did that both at the main 180 Ottawa Courthouse downtown and our 63rd District Courthouse. Security systems and camera replacements, that's a little bit of an ongoing project, but over the past year, there's been substantial upgrades. Fortunately, believe it or not, camera costs have continued to come down up until this past year. So the cameras that we put in now allow us to record substantially better resolution and with pan tilt zoom capability. Our security upgrades to our lock systems, again, our lock systems are mostly card access, and those card access systems, they keep the building more secure. We know who's coming and going, or who, for safety's sake. Larger generator at the health department, that was completed last year and late in last year. Multiple LED upgrades. There's 1,400 lights in this building. These are all LED now. And that was just done over this past year. And that doesn't count all the other buildings that we do also. Completion of our parks office. Construction currently ongoing of the North County campus. And again, that's due for May of next year. And fleet services replacement, that's currently under construction. A look ahead, our North County campus construction will continue through this winter and spring. Fleet services will bring online with operations of that late spring, early summer. All other facility operations work, all other capital project work, and a big one will be strategic planning direction from you all. Challenges that we have are no different than what you have at home or your work or your business. Cal Brinks shared with you all, I know. I don't need to say anymore. We all live that, and we're all accepting of that right now, and we're hoping that things level out. It is challenging to get some things done. We talked about our parks offices. I ran across this early rendering of what this building would look like, and compared to this next slide, so kind of turned out pretty similar to the original conceptual design of it. Again, we talked about this, preparations for our new fleet services facility north of the existing sheriff's department. That's been graded. This is a shot from the end of last month, September 30th, grading and such. The impound lot has been moved to the west and north a little bit. And this is what fleet services will look like, a conceptual. And based on our previous conceptual that was also done by Progressive Architectural Engineering, Progressive is also doing this job for us. So we'll see how close the rendering is to the actual building and how good it looks for early next summer when that comes online. So again, on behalf of our facilities management team, I thank you for the opportunity to serve the county, and I'm happy to answer as best I can any questions you might have.
Thanks, Al. Commissioner Ponstein.
Al, thanks for everything you do. Buildings always look good, your whole team. It's a lot of pride in what our buildings look like. My question isn't really for you, maybe it's for Al, but the previous two presentations both cited concerns of the workforce. Al, could we maybe, I see our HR directors here, maybe get an update on what our strategies are to keep employees, find new employees? Is it change benefits, add benefits, flexibility, higher pay? What's the strategy going forward? Because this is hitting every sector now. A lot more people are deciding just not.
I'll tell you what, I'll start, and then Amy, come on up to the podium, and I'll pitch the baton to you at some point here. First, let me say that one of the things I plan to work with Amy on is a couple snapshots in time. Where were we staffed in January of 2008? Where are we staffed today in each area of the county? And how is what are the gaps? For example, we're adding 2 back to HR. They went down 7 in the Great Recession. We're adding 2 back in this budget. Every area, especially the administrative areas, I think, have been maybe slower to recover. But I think we need to see, when we hear people talk about, oh, the budget's increasing or whatever, well, what time frame are they looking at? I think we need to know how we were staffed then, how we're staffed now. Where has technology helped us? Maybe some of those positions, well, in fact, I know for a fact that some of the positions were down from 2008. We don't need to add back because of technology, but we just need a really truthful picture of where we're at today and where are the gaps. That's one thing. That goes to, Al's down 4 positions since the Great Recession that haven't been added back. Central Services is down 3. I mean, I think that Kent County has always been fairly frugal with resources, and certainly you can see some scope creep in government and other types of things too. But I do think that we are understaffed in some areas of the county. Then on top of that, we have this biggest challenge ever as far as attracting, retaining people to the public sector in general, to government employment, to public safety. It almost doesn't matter what part of government, but it is a steeper climb right now. And Amy and her staff have been dedicating a good portion of their brains to figuring this out, because obviously, we're government, we deliver services. That's about 70% of its people. What we need to do, we need good people to deliver great services, and that's a continual focus. So, Amy, here's the baton.
Okay, thanks, Al, and good morning. Yeah, I guess the first thing I wanted to say about this is, HR, we have a plan, but we're not in this alone. I think Al and a lot of the things that he's doing are going to have a big impact. We can get people in the door, and we can improve our capability to get people in the door with things like a wage study, which is underway right now, and actually this month we'll be meeting with the consultant to understand how the market has moved and to develop a plan to make sure that we keep pace with wages because it's been the most active market since I started my career. So we do have a plan to make sure that we're keeping up with wages. We are currently in the process of negotiating with 3 relatively small unions, and then we've got all of the remaining unions next year. So there is a discussion, which I can't get into the details of, but about kind of having a more robust time off package. So that is being discussed with unions right now. We think we need to offer that in order to be competitive. We also are looking at flexibility. A lot of the kind of the work that's being done and being deployed in this quarter to make sure that some of the kind of ad hoc, holy cow, it's COVID, let's all go home, kind of activity that gets incorporated in a more intentional and sustainable way. So that work is underway right now. So we're doing a lot of things on the HR side to make sure that we're competitive, but we also are partnering. We're partnering with Al's 6Cs initiative. I think it'll take a while, but to get through the organization and to influence our culture the Disney way. But I mean, that's going to help to make sure once we get people here, it's a place people want to stay. So I think the work of the county administrator and others in making sure that we have a culture where people want to be is important. I think some of the work of like Dan, where he mentioned in the Parks Department, I mean, the initiative that their parks managers are taking, going out to the schools and talking to people, the sheriff does a great job at that. The courts do a great job at that. I think that we are a partner to a lot of our county departments and offices, and they have a significant role in this as well. And then last but not least, we're partnering with Lori Latham, and she is helping us to identify a plan to better promote what a great place the county is to work. So there will be an advertising and marketing campaign that's going to come out probably Q4. We're shooting for that. So at a high level, that's kind of an overview of some of the things we're doing, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So just one quick follow-up then. Of the workforce we have, so
Yeah.
we're not losing, I'm assuming you polled and surveyed our workforce. What is it that they like the best about working?
Well, number one, they're mission driven. Regardless of what department people come from, that's by and far, I think, the biggest thing that draws people here. I mean, Al, you mentioned that, not everybody wants to devote their life to government and public service, but the people who do come here, that's why they're here. So that's by and far the biggest thing. The benefits have also historically been a draw, particularly the fact that we offer a pension. I mean, that does set us apart. Maybe some of the younger people don't necessarily see that as being as important, but once we get people in the door, it does help us to retain people. And for many people who value that job security and the long-term kind of value proposition we have, that is a draw for people as well.
Well, thank you so much, and Cal, thank you for the leeway that was given to me, because I don't know if this
Yeah.
anything to do with performance measurements, or I'm probably what the previous did, so.
Well, in the long run, it's important because we need our employees to help us perform well overall. So Commissioner Hennessy.
Thank you for bringing this up, Commissioner Ponstein. It was funny because last night I heard about a 21-year-old who was interested in working for Kent County, but was put off by two-tier type system.
Yeah.
And it was the pension and waiting longer to get the pension was one of the things that put this person off. They really liked the pension, even though they're young and we say they don't care.
Yeah.
This person did care, but it was going to take 5 years longer before they could qualify for full benefits. And so the two-tier approach that we've adopted over the past years is, I think that could be working against us. Are you looking at that?
Not as it relates to the pension. I think
Just overall,
yeah.
the two-tier system.
Yeah, in the two-tier system, I mean, we refer to it as if it's one thing, but there are actually lots of different changes that have happened over the past 15 years or so that where, different people coming in have, a different set of benefits and wages, but it's not really one thing. It's several different things over time with different causes or reasons for being. So I think that there are some things that will get better. The pension specifically, I mean, that's a tough one. Right now, The employees pay half of the cost for the pension, and that's a little bit, I think, maybe around 9% of salaries. So we're trying to balance, like making sure that we offer a competitive benefit, and a benefit that, frankly, I mean, it's a wonderful thing that people would be hard pressed to find anywhere else, with making sure that we can do it sustainably. And that's never an easy balance to have. Right now, our pension is fully funded and the employees are paying half. So we try to be mindful of maintaining that balance, and sometimes that means we have to make tough decisions to make sure the pension is there in the future for people. So as it relates to the pension, I don't necessarily think I would be in favor of going backwards.
I don't
but
think that
yeah,
that's what, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, it's just one of the considerations in terms of, I mean, we changed
Yeah.
pay scales as well.
Yeah.
That was just one thing that happened to be brought up by one person, you know, but,
Yeah.
you know, there's other pay ramifications, and a couple of us were working yesterday with senior millage, and we heard from at least one agency that their minimum now is $15 an hour
Yeah.
in terms of pay, and that's not our minimum yet.
Yeah, but any person who comes in the door into a full or part-time position will be making more than $15 an hour walking in. However, we realize that particularly with entry-level jobs, I mean, the rate of pay has increased substantially. I mean, everybody's seen the signs at McDonald's, for instance, right? I mean, starting at $15 to $19 an hour. So I haven't yet seen the results of the wage study that we commissioned, but I will pretty soon, and I'm super curious to see what that reveals. We have a pay system that is tied to market, and you know the market has moved substantially. And my hope is that, you know, some of the pay, if we have implemented a two-tier system for pay, it's because a person or a job was paid substantially higher than market. My hope is that some of that can be removed as the market kind of catches up with what people's wages were.
All right, thank you,
Yeah.
Amy. Are there any other questions related to Al's performance measurement review? All right, Matt.
Thank you, Chair. First, I just want to say, Al, thanks to you and your team. It's a blessing to have all of you working on the facilities in Kent County, just knowing that all the facilities are well taken care of, and that when there are problems, you all are so responsive to make sure those are taken care of. So I really appreciate that. You mentioned the technology aspects, and I'm curious if that provides us any insight in terms of, like, I guess, traffic patterns, for lack of a better word. So, you know, the badges for employees, you know, do we have more people coming in from 10 to 2, you know, but just, you know, the remote work, you know, how many people are scanning into certain facilities on what days, does that tell us anything? And then the cameras, it got me thinking, can we utilize that for, like, traffic patterns from the public we serve to know, you know, that the clerk's office is always the busiest on Wednesdays from 1 to 4, and we don't know why, but we can see the traffic patterns on the camera. So I don't know if that technology could give us any insights like that.
Some people might not agree with my philosophy, but it's worked well, following the balance of security and caring for other employees. Could that technology do that? Yes, perhaps. It would have to be changed. Right now, our technology is set up for security, and I've never been an advocate of using card access systems as a time clock. That's more of a supervision and management issue. It helps us to know that hey, we got, you know, these people are coming into the courthouse on Saturday. We need to adjust the heating and cooling appropriately for them. That's what we do it. And the same with our cameras. We're extremely careful to not, I'm sorry about this. We're extremely careful not to have our cameras point at employees that are working in any way, shape, and form. It's more for door security or exterior for comings and goings of or weather could it be used for some of that? That's a whole nother ball of wax from our facilities perspective, we can provide the hardware and the opportunity, but how that data could be used, that's not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, that makes sense, and important to point to have safeguards around how we use any of that data, that technology.
Yeah, I have so much respect for all of our employees and the public that come in. The last thing I want to be, I hope we don't go to doing that. And I don't think you were using it for good intention to say, hey, if we have lots of people coming in, and thank you very much, that's very, and what keeps people here working? When we have people like that help others out. Thank you very much, Jenny, that's very kind. I totally understand your intent is to say, hey, how can we help by saying, hey, these doors are crowded during this time, or boy, there's no room for people to stand. I understand that, but is it necessary? I don't think it's necessary at this point. We don't have a lot of problems with that, and comings and goings of staff. That's it's nice to know if people are coming in regularly, then it might pop up to say, hey, we should make some adjustments, accommodations for their parking, or for lights to be on, or heating or cooling. But
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. That makes great sense to be able to kind of tune like if a particular building's more quiet on Monday morning, but unexpectedly, filled on a Monday evening, like to adjust to the timing of heat and cooling and those kind of things. Yeah.
And
Okay,
while we're
thank you.
talking about that building automation, I want to remind you that as I shared, we're down 4 people from what we used to be, but please remember, another takeaway of that is we have compensated some of that with technology. The building automation system that we have, lots of money invested into and have over the years, and we standardize in one system, that saves us a lot of time. We don't have to get a ladder out and climb up into a ceiling, into a variable air volume box or something like that. We can tell what the chiller temperature is, water coming back, water going. That has saved us a lot, that type of technology. Card access is so much better than going and rekeying lock sets and getting keys for people. Card access for parking is so much easier. So technology has helped us a lot. Yeah. Then the only reason I put that in there, again, I mentioned, I wasn't complaining, just mentioning that, hey, we are currently able to do this, have more square feet, bigger buildings with the same staff that we had. So I meant for that more to be to answer your question about where the staffing is at, and the pride that I have in our team that does, I think, exemplary well.
All right, any other questions or comments for Al? I would encourage you all to take a look at the new Parks headquarters. It's a beautiful facility, and I'm looking forward to seeing the other 2 projects come together as well. So
You can see a lot if you were to drive up to 14 Mile Road. You can see a lot from the road. It's generally open to get in. It's not the building itself, but the perimeter, or from adjacent parking lots. You can see a lot. It's a lot. It's 30,000 square feet, but all in one building. You take like our 63rd District Court, which most of you are familiar with. That's a 40,000 square foot building with a 20,000 square foot footprint. So the footprint is bigger than 63rd by half again. Thank you all very much for your patience with me while I was just a little bit froggy.
real quick, Al, do you have a plan for what happens next to the old Parks headquarters? Is there like a bonfire planned or anything like that?
Well, they need a few more weeks to finish up taking a few things over. Dan's team has been very selective to not take something over that doesn't need to go over there, and then maybe move some things that they want to save. And so I would hope before the end of the year they would be gone. But there's really the preliminary research that we've done, and of course we work with purchasing, who's responsible for disposal of surplus property, but the research that we've collectively done, they're very tight, they're exhausted. Those units are exhausted, so they would, as much recycling as could be done, I think.
Yeah, maybe work with DAR over at the Department of Public Works and find a good place for that to go, so,
Yeah?
yep.
I saw Dan's face. He just didn't want to tell Al about the bonfire.
They're gonna do some employee bonding and, maybe with some demolition stuff, so.
And
All
he-
right, well, thanks so much for your time. Our next item on the
Thank you.
agenda is, from the sheriff's office, and it's the 911 plan adoption.
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the tentative 911 plan as amended as the final 911 plan for Kent County. The Kent County Board of Commissioners formally adopted the current 911 plan in 1986 pursuant to Public Act 32 of that same year. Since then, several amendments to the plan have been adopted dealing with establishment of secondary public service answering points, or PSAPs. The Board of Commissioners adopted an updated 911 plan as a tentative plan in Resolution 692275 earlier this year. The updated plan reflects changes in technology, specifically the introduction of Next Generation 911. Since adoption, the tentative plan has been updated to address the inadvertent omission of Grand Valley State University as a law enforcement agency under the Grand Rapids PSAP and correct minor typographical errors. Notices of the public hearing on the 911 plan set for October 13, 2022, and copies of the tentative 911 plan were sent as required by the county clerk. We have received no notices of any new public safety agencies requesting to function as primary or secondary PSAPs, and no notices of any community requesting exclusion from the 911 plan. All service providers identified in the 911 plan will be notified upon its adoption as the final 911 plan by the Board of Commissioners.
All right, thank you, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Teal, support by Commissioner Burrow. Any questions or comments on this? Commissioner LeGrand?
Yeah, I'm just curious about the role of Grand Valley State as a law enforcement agency. I assume we're just talking about the Grand Rapids campuses and what exactly is their role?
They are the jurisdiction for the portion of the Grand Valley campuses that are within Kent County. They also have an arm that works in Allendale. They coordinate back and forth together, but they do have primary law enforcement authority, sworn police officers.
They are, okay,
Yep.
interesting.
Yep.
And so they're first responders if something happens on that campus?
Yeah, but they work very tightly with the city of Grand Rapids in that if it's something that needs more investigation than an initial response, it typically will get referred over to GRPD to do the full investigation, just like you'd see something significant on the Allendale campus or any other campus, frankly, is generally referred over to the more full functioning law enforcement. They have detectives and work more closely with the prosecutor.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, any other questions regarding this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. That brings us to miscellaneous. Is there any commissioner miscellaneous at all today? I have just one item, seeing that there's no one else. I just wanted to thank our staff here, Lisa and Kaylee, for wrangling all of the applications for our county board, commissions, and committees. This year, we had just a huge number, so nearly 500 applications. And if we look at how many we had last year, it was about 150. So an incredible amount, and they did a very good job. They had a few hiccups along the way with technology, but were able to recover. And so I think probably by the end of this week, we should receive our binders, and they'll probably be thicker than they have been in the past. But we'll have groups of 3 to work with, and we'll organize, times to meet with all of our applicants who are, qualified for these positions. And the plan is to probably do a virtual interview with them, and for the sake of time and everybody's, ability to get together. So we'll do that, and we'll schedule those, and you can work with your team to do that. So thank you for all of your hard work, and we look forward to meeting with the citizens of Kent County and helping them help us serve our community. So if there's any other commissioner miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, I move to adjourn, and our next meeting will be October 25, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. Thanks.